Andy Knox was a patient here in the autumn of last year. He had been prescribed methadone tablets prior to his death, October 10th. In the Austin report, Judge Earl stated that Dr. Rayburn had prescribed methadone to a non-addict, quote, without factual determination as to whether he was an addict, end quote, implying at least that Knox had not been a heroin addict and that little or no effort was made here to find out the truth before the pills were prescribed. Dr. P.J. Carter, a pioneer in the use of methadone to treat heroin addicts and an associate of Dr. Rayburn, told me today it was merely circumstance that Dr. Rayburn wrote Andy's prescription instead of me. We were both seeing addicts that morning. But, says Dr. Carter, Andy Knox was carefully examined before the prescription was written. The Department of Public Safety in Austin has examined 2 types of pills found in Andy Knox's apartment. One was methadone, the other secobarbital. Reports from Austin quote friends of Andy's as knowing that he had the pills, but denying he was addicted to heroin. The case has been referred directly to the Travis County Grand Jury. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Village Clinic in Lake Worth.
First is the economy. Inflation has not yet been controlled and will not be controlled so long as the President sends us a spending budget each year with a built-in deficit of from $25 to $35 billion. Second is national security. And while I am in complete sympathy with the necessity for disentangling ourselves from the jungles of Southeast Asia, I strongly urge that we restore our arsenal to the levels necessary to protect our national defense and our national security.
Well, Mr. Chastain, the job seems to be about done now. How do you feel about everything?
It is, and I'm thankful, Bob. We started on this with not any experience of doing this type thing, and we've come this far. We think that we put a house here that they can live in comfortably and something that'll fit them. If we'd had a much bigger house, it'd been something, as you well can see, they couldn't have taken care of. I am thankful for every individual who had a part in it, and especially David Philpouch. If without his help, I couldn't have done this. And when I say I don't mean that I did any of it by myself. It was the help of the media and the press and just a number of people. We had checks from several states and Old Mexico that donated.
You mentioned David Philpouch. That's the young man standing next to us here. David, you put in a lot of work on this. Was that done on your own as a member of an organization, or could you tell us about it?
No, sir. I own a remodeling company, DNC Remodeling Company, and I saw this in the paper, these people's plight, and it said to call Cliff Chastain if he could help in any way, and I called, and he said they were going to get a house and remodel it, and I told him I was in the remodeling business, and I would be glad to do it on my own time if it was possible, but they wanted to do it a little faster, so I took 2 weeks from work, and we came on down and did it.
And we really want to thank Fred York, who's helped us much with this house. He helped us with the location, helped us with the road in here, and getting the well, water for them, and all these things. and we could try to think every individual, but we couldn't think of all their names, much less name all of them, and we wouldn't have the time to do so here.
I know they can't operate that television set yet, and it's not on Channel 8. Any reason for that?
We'll fix that.
I'll put it back on 8.
Thank you, Cliff.
The county purchasing agent, Ed Smith, appeared before the court this morning to point out what he called a matter which is inconsistent with previous patterns in county purchasing. It seems that the DA's office wanted $55,000 worth of furniture, a budgeted item and already okayed by the county commissioners. But among the items requested were a Chippendale desk for Mr. Crouch, valued at $650, a credenza for the desk, 18 feet long, a wastepaper basket costing $50, plus a number of chairs which the purchasing agent termed above the standards we normally observe. Smith pointed out that the desk in the commissioner's offices cost $207 apiece, less than one-third the price submitted by Mr. Crouch. The attitude of the court was summed up by Commissioner Dick Lewis, who observed, "A DA's office is fine, you got to have one, but this is ridiculous." As the matter stands at the moment, Mr. Crouch may have any kind of desk he wants, so long as it costs no more than $207. However, several observers in court this morning expressed the view that the matter no doubt had not ended. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, at the county courthouse in Fort Worth.
I say they should follow the proper channels, their betterment councils, and also the board at large. And we had a tri-racial committee appointed for that purpose. And Mrs. Barrera and I were responsible to go into the Mexican-American staff and find out what are the discrepancies. But we had no success. Either they didn't have the courtesy or the respect to come to us. I want to know why they went to Dallas instead.
The basic problem for the hotel is its age. It's simply gotten too old, and with its age, the hotel has become what the city fire marshal calls one of the worst fire hazards in Dallas, and that's the reason city officials want the building closed. For some, this will mean the loss of a home, since a handful of residents, mostly older people, have been making the hotel their permanent address. But through the help of local authorities and government money, these people are being relocated. But there was a time when this hotel was said to be one of the finest in Dallas. It was known for its rooftop dance hall and for its location, just across the street from Union Station. But people don't travel much by train anymore, and so what was once an asset has become a liability, especially since no passenger trains come through the station now. The hotel was built back in 1917, more than 50 years ago. And during this time, Dallas has changed from a relatively small community to the nation's 8th largest city. And the hotel has become a victim of these changing times. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Getting down to the specifics of the TCU-Arkansas game tomorrow night, how about the injuries to Simpson DeGrate and Ferguson?
Well, little Jimmy Ferguson, who is the quarterback of my basketball team, and I'd hate to do without him. He's got a stone bruise on his heel, hasn't worked out in a day or two, and maybe he could have worked out. We just didn't want to re-injure it, you know. And I think he will be all right by Saturday night when we tee it up with Arkansas. At least I hope he will. Simpson DeGrate has had a thigh problem ever since we started this year, and it came from taking a big lick on his thigh. And he's moving pretty good now, and There's an amazing thing about Simpson. When it's game time, all of a sudden his leg doesn't hurt him. So I look for him to be running and jumping tomorrow night.
Mr. Nixon won this honor for his interest in football and his contributions as a football coach. To be specific, he is a volunteer offensive coach for Miami. Some Cowboy fans may add the word very offensive. One of the news magazines said he gave Coach Shula a play during, and here I quote, one of his celebrated phone calls at 2 a.m. That's the end of that quote. Most of the football calls as governor of Texas that I have received at 2 a.m. in the morning were from drunks.
Like these people will have to revert to the streets after they have used up what supply of methadone we have furnished them in order to allow them to have time to be assimilated in whatever programs are available.
What's going to happen to the
Here's the key to your house now. That's the key to this door, and that other key is the one to the other door. Okay? And if you'll turn around and just go ahead and walk in the house.
Time's run out for Dr. P.J. Carter here at the Village Clinic in Lake Worth. After today, he's not going to be able to administer any doses of or prescribe any methadone tablets for some 600 heroin addicts who regularly come to visit him here. I talked with Dr. Carter today about what he sees in the future.
It looks more
crime problem in the state of Texas, and especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Well, it will have to increase in the near future as soon as these people who have been provided with a supply to allow them time to go over onto another program. When this runs out, they will have to go back to the streets.
One of the authors of the bill that's going to effectively put Dr. Carter and others like him out of business and turn over all heroin addicts to state-approved clinics is Representative Mike Moncrief of Fort Worth. Representative Moncrief talked with Channel 8's Jim Green today.
Dr. Carter apparently feels that this new legislation creating the new methadone program has forced him out of a business, and he also apparently feels that this has been bad legislation. How do you answer this?
Concerning Dr. Carter's personal attack on me and my fellow legislators, I would like to say this. House Bill 139 is a bill which was supported by the Texas Medical Association, the Department of Health, and the Department of Mental Health and Mental Retardation. It was not designed to close any existing facility, but rather to expand treatment to heroin addicts statewide. The guidelines in this bill were established by the aforementioned departments. If Dr. Carter thinks that the legislature of the state of Texas would be so vindictive as to seek out one individual and pass a law just to harm him, he is sadly mistaken.
It was a long battle and an interesting one. Dr. Carter against the AMA, the Texas Medical Association, and the state legislature. He lost, but who knows, he may try again. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move at Village Clinic in Lake Worth.
This is an honor I would truly like to share with anyone else. And I am especially grateful it is presented only once a year. Nevertheless, I accept this award in the spirit in which it is given, in good humor. To properly express my appreciation for this singular tribute, I have decided to make the ultimate gesture, and you will be pleased to learn that for the Super Bowl, I have offered Tom Landry my complete playbook.
Renewed research and development that will guarantee this arsenal in the future. Finally, I believe that we need urban solutions to urban problems. We must end the uncertainty over school busing, welfare, crime, housing, public transit, and public health. I feel that this is the major challenge of the 70s.
The desegregation of public schools in Dallas presents an interesting study in statistics. The figures released by the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare indicate that the number of black students attending predominantly white schools jumped last fall 650%, which increased the number of black students in white schools from less than 3% to about 15%. But despite all this, the number of black students in predominantly white schools in Dallas is still less than half the national average.
I don't think the HEW study was a valid one for several reasons. Number one, I think we should be only compared to cities of similar size and similar minority makeup. Number two, I think we should look at how integration occurred. It was one-sided with the busing of 5,000 blacks. The third factor involved is that we have not really integrated at the elementary level, and I'm wondering how valid integration is unless it begins at the elementary level. And finally, I think we should concern ourselves not with being compared with other cities, but what is right for the children of Dallas.
Channel 8 News conducted an informal survey of other members of the Dallas School Board, and of those contacted, each of them agreed with Dr. Conrad that what is really important is doing what's right for public education in Dallas. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
City officials in Waco feel not only that the $2.5 million convention center will bring convention business to the city, but will act as a cultural center and a uniting influence for the city. In fact, Mayor Carl May officially opened the complex today with a plea for togetherness.
Let's all pledge ourselves, together, separately, to do what we can to make Waco a better place in which to live, to be brothers with each other, sisters with each other, to have a togetherness that causes us all to pull together in such a way that we can't lose. Thank you very much for being here today. And now, I've cut a lot of ribbons, but I suspect that this is the proudest moment of my life and probably I hope the smoothest ribbon cutting that I've ever engaged in.
That's pretty excellent.
The problems in the state of Texas, unfortunately, are not vastly different from the ones in New York, in California, or in any number of other states. There's been a great deal of progress made in Texas. As a former superintendent of the Austin State School, I've seen some of this progress on a very personal level. However, a great deal needs to be done here in Texas.
The official opening of the center today featured free entertainment and refreshments while Wacoans filed through the complex. The center now has meeting rooms holding 3,000 and 1,500 people respectively, plus many smaller meeting rooms on the lower level. Still partially under construction, the entire complex is scheduled to be finished by the end of the coming summer. Featured at the entrance to the center will be a freedom fountain, reminding Wacoans and conventioneers of their democratic heritage. The center is booked every night this week as citizens go all out for their grand opening. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move.
During the last few days, the news media conditions that exist at the Willowbrook
belongs to you. And I pledge to you that we'll use it in a way that will be meaningful, in a way that will cause all of you to be happy that it's here. But you have to work with us, as you well know, to make it really work. And the togetherness of all this city could be tied up right now in a way that will be meaningful for many years to come.